A lot of people are in the building, but no one needs more security than the former president of the United States.
Everybody wants a blizzard. What the hell is a blizzard?
Can a trans woman chest feed a baby? According to the CDC, yep.
We're doing the horse race. The horse race is on, and like him or not, Donald Trump is very good at running for president. Joe Biden is not. Also, chest feeding. Is it a thing that the CDC is now endorsing? And lastly, the Netherlands Miss Netherlands pageant winner is an interesting individual, to say the least. All that coming up on this episode of Daily Caller Live. Thanks so much for tuning in. My name is Jobob. Daily Caller Live starts right now.
2, 1.
Here we go!
That might be the only brown guy on earth named Jobob.
That is actually her name, Jobob.
Ooh, live from the dingy bunker, completely cut off from the outside world, except, of course, you fine folks. My name is Jobob. This is Daily Caller Live. Thanks so much for tuning in on today. It is Monday, July 10th, the year of our Lord 2023, the day before Slurpee Day at 7-Eleven. Don't forget, mark your calendars, kids. Also, if you're a kid watching this show, I would encourage you to go play with toys or play outside or do something else. Then pay attention to the horse race of politics, especially when it comes to running for president of the United States. That is what I would like to talk about today, because over the weekend, again, there are big things that happened. I get it. News stories. We can talk maybe Prigozhin, Putin later on or tomorrow or something like that. The reading list from the biggest teachers union in America is out, and we'll probably get to that later on in the week at some point. But I would like to talk about the ability to run for president of the United States. Now, it goes without saying that across many categories, many groups of people, many states, across the entire country, Donald Trump is a polarizing figure. I understand that. Having said that, he is so freaking good at running for president. Love him or hate him, the guy is a talented politician, probably in lockstep, if not even more talented than Barack Obama. A lot of people get upset when I say that. Barack Obama, I could not stand the policies. I'd argue against them every day of my life if I had to. He's a good politician. Donald Trump is also a good politician. Subsequently, Joe Biden is not a good politician. But I'd like to just give you a peek into understanding, at least somewhat, what it means to run for president. I wish we were a society or a culture that just voted for president based on the policies and the ideas that any particular individual espoused. My ideal dream president of the United States is a guy who sits in the room and just makes decisions on how to execute the laws of Congress. I don't care if he's charismatic. I don't care if he's popular. I don't really care if he's well-liked either. But execute the laws that Congress enacts and do nothing more than that. But that's not the world that we live in. Unfortunately, we live in a world where many more factors take into account. And so when you exist in that world, you have to look at politicians as competitors in the world that they exist, such as Donald Trump, who, again, like him or hate him, whether you think he can beat the Democratic nominee, who I will not say Joe Biden because it won't be Joe Biden in 2024, whether you think he can beat the Democratic nominee or you don't, is beside the point. What we're highlighting here is the fact that he's good at politics. I want you to watch this clip of the president, right? The former president of the United States walking into the UFC fight over the weekend in Las Vegas. It was International Fight Week. I don't even know what that means. But Donald Trump was there and literally entered the arena as if he were a fighter. The camera angles, the crowd going nuts, the commentary around it. He might as well have got in the ring and started slugging people. Watch this, and we'll discuss on the other side.
So,
We got the man.
as you might expect for International Fight Week, a lot of people are in the building, but no one needs more security than the former president of the United States, obviously a really good friend of Dana White.
Oh my word, I mean, listen, he's a massive fight fan, and that just shows how big this event is. Donald Trump has loved the fights for a long time. He's often at Madison Square Garden, but the International Fight Week, he has to show up, show his support. He has done since day one. It's good to see him here, Dom.
Oh, it's no surprise that this man is here, because this is the only thing that stayed open in all of sports during some of the darkest times. Glad he's here.
All right, let's go.
All right. If you watch that video, and again, I would imagine people listening to this or watching this have more of an understanding of politics. You're probably dug in a little bit deeper than your average person. But what that looks like to the average person is, oh my gosh, that's cool, which factors in to running for president of the United States, which is exactly what he is good at, and apparently getting better. I also want you to watch this clip. This isn't really entirely necessary, but it is kind of fascinating. Donald Trump goes over and shakes Joe Rogan's hand, which I don't know. I just thought that was interesting. Joe Rogan has said, I'm not going to have him on the podcast. I don't want to give him any more attention. There's been some tension between Joe Rogan and Donald Trump, probably. But the guy, again, in running for president, will not miss an opportunity to shake someone's hand, especially someone as big as Joe Rogan, regardless of whether or not that person has badmouthed him in the past. Again, you want to. Donald Trump is known for being petty, I guess, is the correct term. But even after all of the smack that Joe Rogan has talked, he still goes out of his way, shakes his hand. It's fascinating. Just watch this. If you're just watching, it's literally just Trump going over and shaking Rogan's hand. I have no idea what either one of them said. I don't think anybody has any idea. I don't know. And honestly, who cares? It's the whole optics of, look, I can befriend people who say that they hate me. Now, again, I know that seems to run absolutely counter to Donald Trump's Twitter feed or truth feed or whatever you want to call it. He tends to hold a grudge, and if you're mean to him, he will be mean to you on the internet. But at the same time, I think he recognizes the entire game that's being played, which is why I think he's so good at running for president. Speaking of another guy running for president, this is what happened over the weekend in Delaware. I don't know if you saw this video. I don't know if you saw this making the rounds on social media. But if you're running for president of the United States, you do all of the things that Donald Trump just did that we saw and watched and talked about, and you do not, under any circumstances, do what Joe Biden did over the weekend, which is, and this is sad, by the way. I don't like the fact that this is like a thing that we get to hit him on, but went to the beach and was sunbathing, shirtless, in shorts, with his family. Again, I don't like the fact that this is where we are as a culture. You can't just, I don't know, go to the beach and have a nice day. But, dude, in terms of just running for president and trying to keep the optics in your favor, this is not a great look. I'm going to torture your eyes with this for a little bit. I think it's only like 30 seconds, but a bunch of the paparazzi caught Joe Biden sunbathing at the beach. If you're 80 years old, don't, just keep your shirt on. Skin cancer is a real thing. Check it out. At the very least, I would like you to pit those optics against each other. Trump walking out literally in the same way that fighters walk out, with the camera walking backwards and the music playing and all that sort of stuff, in a UFC fight, and Joe Biden waddling off the beach. Again, I hate that this is how we run our society, but it just is. Going back to an earlier comment that we had, somebody on YouTube said, Joe Rogan recently changed his opinions on Trump. Kind of. I think kind of. But that's not really a conversation I really want to dig into a ton. Basically, the bottom line is Donald Trump's good at running for president. And one more example of that as we continue on with the horse race before we get to the chest feeders and the Miss Netherlands pageant. This clip. This, again, love him or hate him, he's good at this sort of stuff. Retail politics is a big thing in Iowa, meaning that you go to stores and you're meeting with the community, you do community events, more than just big rallies on stages, which he's very well known for doing, but just kind of interacting with everyday people. I've said this before, it is fascinating how a Manhattan billionaire is so much more able to connect with everyday citizens than pretty much any other politician in American history. Kind of a funny thing at the beginning here, and just watch this. It's fascinating.
Everybody wants a blizzard. What the hell is a blizzard? What is a blizzard? And take care of the people, okay? Will you take care of them for me? I will do the blizzard thing, all right?
We know you're president right now, Trump.
Roger. Great book, guy. 45, I like that. Good Trump. Look at that, 45-47.
I realize that that's not the most compelling thing to watch, and I also can't stand when the video freezes like that. But again, the bottom line here and the biggest point I'm trying to make is the guy is freaking good at running for president. Now, I'll be honest with you, I am not sure that Donald Trump can beat the Democratic nominee. I don't think it's going to be Joe Biden. So if it's Gavin Newsom, I don't actually know. Gavin Newsom also had a really, really interesting interview with Psaki over the weekend, in which he says he watches Fox News every single night, which is, of course, not true, but Gavin is trying to remain, or trying to promote an image that he is, well, I'm trying to understand everyone, so I watch it every night to connect with regular Americans. What was I saying? To the point of Gavin Newsom, I'm not sure that Donald Trump would win in a general election that wasn't against Joe Biden. If it's Joe Biden versus Donald Trump, I think Donald Trump wins hands down. And so it's this funny kind of interesting thing that both kind of need each other. Trump needs Joe Biden to run again. Joe Biden, the only person that I think he would have the possibility of beating, now I don't think he would, but I think in the Biden camp's mind, the only person that they think they could possibly beat in the Republican field is Donald Trump. So it's this weird symbiotic relationship of where both of them kind of need each other, maybe. I don't know. Fascinating. That is enough of the horse race politics. And on to this. This is just gross. I'll be honest with you. It is very gross. And I was telling my wife this morning as I was looking at this picture of the pink-haired dude who's dressed up as a woman with whatever that is, fluid-wise, in the little breast pump thing. It's gag-inducing. We had talked a while ago about the whole men breastfeeding or trans women. This is dumb. It's an adult male breastfeeding. Because Matt Walsh had done a big screed about it, basically giving us some outlining details that the common media trope nowadays is that men can breastfeed if they want. Because there was some study somewhere that showed that a man can produce some sort of discharge from. I hate this. I literally hate this. I hate the fact that we're freaking forced to talk about this. I mean that culturally, by the way. Nobody at the Daily Caller is forcing me to talk about this. I'm just talking about just in general. The fact that we have to discuss this sort of stuff is. Ugh. The idea that men can breastfeed is based on a singular study in which one dude took so many hormones into his system that his nipples started leaking. I hate this. And for 6 weeks, there was a discharge coming from the dude's nipples. And the dude's baby, who obviously was given birth by somebody else, was able to, quote unquote, feed on that. Now, the study neglects to mention the lack of nutritional value in that dude's nipple discharge. And also states in the study itself says, yeah, it was only lasted for about 6 weeks, and an infant needs much more than that in order to survive. Also, he couldn't actually. I'm like gagging a little bit. The baby also needed to be supplemented in many cases with a lot more nutritional value than the dude's nipple discharge. Anyway, so we talked all about that several weeks ago because that is where this claim comes from. Trans women can breastfeed. It's just factually inaccurate. Having said that, this is from the Daily Mail. The CDC accused of blurring politics and science over advice that suggests trans women can safely breastfeed, but fails to mention the risks to the baby. Now, that is much more of a generous headline, which I wanted to bring on, than some of the more conservative news outlets. But the bottom line is the CDC is now on board with this fake idea generated by this fake study in which nobody benefited, except for, I guess, the dude, which we'll get into that in a little bit, and is now on board with the whole men breastfeeding. This is what the Daily Mail says. And again, this is probably more charitable of an article than a bunch of the conservative outlets, but again, that's why I wanted to read this. U.S. health officials were criticized today for advocating that trans women can breastfeed without highlighting the risks to the baby. Several information pages at the CDC Centers for Disease Control and Prevention website appear to endorse chest feeding, a term used to describe feeding an infant milk directly from the breast of a trans or non-binary parent. One section titled Health Equity Considerations. Why is that even a section? Whatever. One section titled Health Equity Considerations claims an individual does not need to have given birth to breastfeed or chest feed. Okay, that's a little bit ambiguous. But then it goes on to say another section in a Q&A about breast surgery titled Can Trans Parents Have Breast Surgery? Wow, can't read this morning. I think it's because my gag reflexes have been provoked. In a Q&A section about breast surgery titled Can Transgender Parents Who Have Had Breast Surgery Breastfeed and Chest Feed Their Infants? Families, the CDC says, families may need help with medication to induce lactation. The CDC did not respond for comments and requests from the Daily Mail. Now, further on down in the article, it again makes some fairly generous claims here, saying biological men who transition into women, which is not possible, can produce breast milk by taking several hormone drugs that mimic the changes in women's body who undergo surgeries in the late stages of pregnancy and shortly after childbirth. undergoes, did I say surgery? Undergoes changes. This is now very convoluted and confusing. The bottom line here is, and I don't want to read on because apparently I can't read today. Well, this last sentence / paragraph. But one of the drugs used can pass into the breast milk. See, the problem is it's so freaking confusing. It's just not that. But all right. Into the nipple discharge in small amounts and can sometimes give babies an irregular heartbeat as a result. Among many of the other severe problems with this. The CDC fails to mention, hey, the hormones that are being injected into dudes so that they can discharge out of their man nipples so that they can get the satisfaction, I guess, of breastfeeding a baby can cause harm to the baby. The bottom line is they're saying, well, the kid might die, but the man feels happy. Isn't that good? No. No, it's not. In this particular situation, we need to, culturally, society, whatever, as a people, recognize why people breastfeed to begin with. Why women breastfeed to begin with. It's not because women are jumping on board the train to do. Of the couple women that I know that are pregnant right now or have just given birth, my wife and many other people that we know, the whole breastfeeding thing is like, yeah, you have to do it. It's not like an option. It's not like oh goody, I get to do this. And in many cases, they're like, yeah, here are some of the side effects. I will not go into detail for the sake of remaining civil and polite on this show. But many people that we've talked to said, yeah, there are some severe irritations. And if it wasn't so beneficial to the child, I would imagine that most women wouldn't do it. But it is of such great benefit to the kid that women just do it anyway. In other words, what I'm saying is women are, in my experience, and maybe this is wrong, and maybe, I don't know, women can give me comments in the comment section. There are not women going, yes, I get to breastfeed. Their mentality is, this is so good for this child that I'm going to do it, despite the discomfort and several irritations that it causes. And what I mean by saying that is, in the reverse situation, when the dude who says they're now a woman is trying to breastfeed, there is no benefit to the kid. The kid is actually worse off. So the priorities as to why you're doing this is not about the health and safety of this child. It is about the dude trying to feel emboldened in this bad decision he's made with his life. Interesting. Yeah, there's a bunch of people in the comment section talking about varying reasons as to why you would breastfeed, and those are all good reasons. Those are all reasons that I've heard before. But at the end of the day, the whole purpose is to to facilitate the health of a baby, not to satisfy the whims of a mentally confused individual. Dang. We got demonetized from Facebook like 3 weeks ago. And when I say for no reason, I haven't really talked about this much, but on my particular Facebook page, the money has been cut off. Haven't given any reason. And I haven't complained about this because I feel like this is a big thing that conservatives always complain about, censorship. And I recognize that it's just a workplace hazard. But the only reason I bring that up is if we hadn't got demonetized now, then we would get demonetized now. So, interesting. I realize that was a clunky description of all of that, and I think it's due to the fact of how gross it is. I can't keep my brain straight and deliver a story of that grossitude. I'm making up words now without getting thrown off. And now on to this, another trans thing. This is, we're not even going to read the article. This is just what it is. In the Netherlands, some dude who's cosplaying as a woman beat an actual woman in the Miss Netherlands beauty pageant. Part of me, most of me, says I just don't care at this point. Like, what are beauty pageants? Why do they exist? I don't understand it. And maybe that's just me as a man not understanding the pageantry and the circumstance of these sorts of things. But at the end of the day, I just don't care. Having said that, that doesn't negate the ridiculousness of it. I tweeted yesterday to great fanfare, sarcastically, by the way, because I feel like I have to say that now, after some dude dressed as a woman won the Netherlands Miss Netherlands pageant, I said, wow, I guess it is true. Men are just better than women at everything. Of course, I don't actually believe that. That was sarcasm. But that seems to be the claim that a bunch of your people that agree with this sort of stuff are staking, that men can do literally anything, including knock women off of their own pedestals in competitions. Next to the person with the sash and the crown in the red is the dude, and next to the dude in this picture is the runner-up. Sick job, Netherlands. All right, I feel like that whole chest-feeding baby thing took a lot out of me. So we're going to go ahead and wrap it up. Maybe we'll talk. I don't have the mental capacity to dig into what the hell could be going on in Russia with Prigozhin and Putin, because that's another deep, complex thing that I don't know. I just don't have the brain power to think of at the moment. So that's going to do it for us today. Appreciate you sticking around, tuning in. Joanna, ending it with the very poignant point. You can change your look, but not your sex. End of subject. Correct. That is accurate. Probably the most concise and the most accurate comment we may have ever gotten. If you haven't already, give me a follow on any of your social media accounts. Having said that, if you've watched this show or listened to it on the podcast form, and this is your first time watching or listening, you probably be like, "Why the heck would I follow you?" That was a subpar show. I would give this show today a D+. Still passing grade in Los Angeles schools, but yeah, I don't know. Brain shut off after the whole dude's breastfeeding thing. But if you, for some reason, want to, give me a follow on any of your social media platforms. Just type in Jobob. You'll be able to find me pretty much anywhere. I think we're going to be announcing some comedy shows coming up in the fall this week. I don't know yet, though. So to keep up with all the latest and stuff in that, just Jobob. Find me pretty much anywhere. We'll see you tomorrow, same time, same place, talking about things that are more significant, hopefully, probably. See you then. God bless America.